put out a black movie.
Tyler Perry happened to Black Hollywood, and he did it by using stupid, ignorant, so-called Christian to fund all of his very homosexual behavior.
Remember when I said earlier, I've never seen so many cowards and black men in this business? I would have to put my brother Tyler Perry in that.
The man has a huge audience, and Tyler's very smart.
Tyler Perry, the man hailed as a Hollywood success story, a self-made mogul who turned church plays into box office gold. But what if everything you thought you knew about him was just a polished facade? What if behind the billion-dollar studios and carefully crafted Christian image lies a darker reality, one built not on faith and inspiration, but on manipulation, exploitation, and secrets buried deep within Black Hollywood?
See, you keep diluting the greatness of a people, and what you'll have is a shadow of what it was ever meant to be. All of this gay agenda has to stop. To be homosexual is one thing. To be a gay person is fine. But to use it to manipulate and brainwash society for the purpose of population control or class control, caste system domination, that shouldn't be.
For years, whispers floated through the industry, hinting that Perry's empire wasn't as clean as it seemed. Now, Cassie Davis, one of his closest collaborators, is finally ready to pull back the curtain. And what she reveals might forever change how we see Tyler Perry and the cost of success in an industry that once promised hope, but instead delivered silence. Tyler Perry's story is legendary, at least on the surface. A man who grew up poor and homeless, writing plays in his car, finding refuge in churches that rallied behind his vision. His early work touched a nerve, especially within Black church communities, who saw in his stories a reflection of their own struggles and triumphs. Packed church buses rolled into his shows. Word spread. His Medea character became a phenomenon, and soon Perry was signing multi-million-dollar deals with studios that once shut him out.
You know what he's done. He started out, with these plays, and church buses would pull up, packed, and he's parlayed it into bought his own jet. You can buy a jet, you got money.
He's a whole cross-dressing weirdo. Let's just be honest, it was Black American churches that made Tyler Perry rich.
But behind the narrative of faith, family, and perseverance was a different story, one of careful branding. Tyler wasn't just selling plays, he was selling a persona that masked alliances, decisions, and ambitions that many would later claim betrayed the very community that built him up. Cassie Davis, a name synonymous with warmth, humor, and faith. Whether it was Aunt Bam cracking up audiences or Ella Payne winning hearts on House of Pain, Cassie was a pillar of Perry's empire. She was loved, trusted, and loyal, until now. After years of biting her tongue, Cassie has decided it's time to tell her story. A story not of uplifting mentorship, but of witnessing firsthand the exploitation behind the scenes. She paints a picture of a studio more focused on maintaining Tyler's control than fostering true creativity. According to her, loyalty wasn't rewarded, obedience was. And stepping out of line could cost you everything. Cassie's revelations are more than just backstage gossip. They hint at a deeper, more troubling culture at the heart of one of Hollywood's most celebrated success stories. At first glance, Tyler Perry's Ruthless seemed like just another intense drama, this time centered around a mother trapped in a cult. But to those paying attention, Ruthless wasn't just edgy storytelling. It was a disturbing peek into something more sinister. The series didn't shy away from graphic, ritualistic scenes, brutal hazings, manipulative cult leaders, twisted rites of passage that felt eerily personal. Viewers were left wondering, was this just fiction? Or was Perry exposing a reality he knew too well? It raised questions. Why would someone so publicly tied to churches and pastors feel drawn to telling such dark, disturbing tales? And why did it all feel so authentic? It wasn't just the stories Perry chose to tell, it was who he chose to surround himself with. Tyler Perry wasn't just cozy with Hollywood executives, he was rubbing shoulders with some of the most powerful and controversial religious leaders in America. Joel Osteen, T.D. Jakes, both men with massive followings and massive scandals lurking in the shadows.
If he's going well, we know he's going to the Diddy parties, and I know that it's, I know what usually happens at the Diddy party, or what we told us happened at the Diddy parties. Maybe he needs to see it for himself, man. Maybe he needs to go there and really be involved in some things that could help save some individuals while they going to those parties. Or maybe he just going to, man, it's hard to even talk about. Why would you find a religious man, when you know that the saints supposed to separate themselves from the sinners, and why would a religious man like himself be at a party which ain't nothing but sin that's going on, bro? Whether it's drinking, maybe fornicating, maybe, like I said, men on men, women on women. It's hard to put in perspective unless he's involving himself what is actually going on at the parties.
And then there's Diddy. Whispered rumors connect Perry to Diddy's notorious underground parties, secretive freak-offs where morality was the last thing on anyone's mind. For someone projecting a Christian role model image, Tyler's associations tell a very different story. Were these alliances strategic moves, or something far more compromising? Black Hollywood wasn't always like this. There was a time when a new black film was an event, a celebration of culture and creativity. Icons like Robert Townsend, Spike Lee, and John Singleton pushed boundaries, telling stories rooted in authenticity. But then the gatekeepers changed. Tyler Perry rose, backed by churches who thought they were supporting one of their own. Instead, they unknowingly funded a shift toward exploitation, humiliation, and the perpetuation of harmful stereotypes. The golden era of black cinema was slowly replaced with a flood of formulaic comedies, shallow narratives, and characters that felt more like caricatures than real people. And behind it all, critics argue, stood Tyler Perry, smiling, profiting, and consolidating power. Tyler Perry's critics weren't just angry YouTubers or anonymous sources. Some of the biggest names in black cinema spoke out, and they didn't hold back. Spike Lee, one of the most respected directors in Hollywood, famously called Perry's work coonery and buffoonery.
There are certain images, whether they be in plays or movies or music, that we flock to, whether we like to admit it or not. I'm wondering, is that just the black middle class saying, oh no, that's not what we want, but the lot of us wanting it?
Well, I mean, this is a complex subject, because each artist should be allowed to pursue the artistic endeavor. But I still think a lot of stuff that's on today is coonery and buffoonery. And I know it's making a lot of money, breaking records, but we could do better. That's just my opinion.
Yet, if those films, and I mean, we're talking about Tyler Perry at this point. Look.
Accusing him of trading dignity for dollars. To Spike, Tyler wasn't elevating black stories. He was cheapening them, feeding audiences damaging stereotypes while laughing all the way to the bank. And Spike wasn't alone. Monique, Jaguar Wright, and other industry veterans hinted that Perry wasn't just problematic on screen. They suggested he was part of a much bigger system of exploitation and control behind the scenes, one that forced talented black artists to choose between selling out or being pushed out. The tension wasn't about personal beef. It was a battle for the soul of black Hollywood. From the outside, Tyler Perry Studios is a marvel. Acres of opportunity, a beacon of black excellence. But step inside and a very different story emerges. Background actors and crew members describe the environment as toxic and chaotic. Promises of professionalism quickly shattered by reports of arrogance, mistreatment, and total disregard for the people making the magic happen. Last-minute script changes, unrealistic call times, unsafe working conditions, these weren't isolated incidents. They became the norm. Even basic necessities like craft services were neglected, with actors left scrambling for food during grueling hours on set. Behind the glossy PR campaigns, Tyler Perry's empire was running on the backs of overworked, underappreciated artists who soon realized that their dreams came second to the brand's bottom line. At the heart of much of the backlash is a disturbing pattern. the portrayal of Black women in Perry's work. From Diary of a Mad Black Woman to I Can Do Bad All by Myself, the blueprint is often the same. Broken women, battered by life and bad men, finding redemption only after enduring tremendous suffering. Time and time again, Black women are depicted as loud, aggressive, emotionally unstable, or hopeless without intervention. Instead of celebrating the complexity, strength, and beauty of Black women, Perry's narratives often box them into damaging tropes. Angry, bitter, dependent, redeemable only through trauma. For an artist supposedly championing Black voices, the pattern felt less like empowerment and more like exploitation. And audiences noticed. The criticism grew louder. Social media lit up with posts from Black women who felt betrayed by the man they once supported, accusing him of desensitizing the world to Black women's pain for profit. Over the years, Perry's content took a darker turn. Gone were the heartwarming tales of overcoming adversity. In their place, graphic X-rated scenes, bizarre cult-like imagery, and increasingly disturbing storylines. Fans couldn't help but wonder, what changed? Was this an attempt to stay edgy for streaming audiences? Or was it something deeper? Was the man who once preached faith and family now revealing the parts of himself he'd long kept hidden? Shows like Ruthless didn't just cross new boundaries, they bulldozed over them. And with each new project, it became harder to reconcile the public Tyler with the one writing these twisted, often disturbing scripts. Some began to question if Perry's work was a reflection of the very industry corruption he once claimed to stand against. And then came the whispers about Diddy, about the underground freak-offs, about the shadowy parties where the biggest names in Hollywood let their masks slip. Sources alleged that Tyler Perry wasn't just attending these gatherings, he was a regular. The same man who preached Christian values was allegedly rubbing shoulders with the same crowd accused of hosting cult-like ceremonies and orchestrating secret deals that blurred the line between fame and infamy. Could Tyler's increasingly graphic work be inspired by what he witnessed behind those closed doors? Could the shift in his storytelling reflect not just creative evolution, but participation in something far darker? It's a question that lingers, and one Tyler Perry has never directly answered. Tyler Perry's rise to power was built on a foundation of hope, faith, and hard work, or so it seemed. But as the cracks in the facade widen, the question grows louder. At what cost? Behind the rags to riches story lies a tangled web of exploitation, betrayal, and controversy. From the mistreatment of actors to the problematic portrayals of Black women, from the shady alliances to the disturbing industry rumors, Perry's empire now looks less like a beacon of Black excellence and more like a warning sign. The legend of Tyler Perry was never just about success. It was about survival in an industry that devours dreams. But survival at the expense of your own community? That's a different story altogether. As more voices come forward, Cassie Davis, Spike Lee, Jaguar Wright, the image Perry has fought so hard to protect begins to crumble. And in its place, we're left with a much harder truth to swallow. Sometimes the ones who preach the loudest about faith are hiding the deepest secrets. Like and subscribe to stay up to date with all the celebrity tea.